What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Desmond back here with another video for you. I decided to skip my PT acceptance video just because I felt like it didn't apply to as many people. I want my channel to be more informative, educational, rather than just me telling you my stories. So I decided to go ahead and jump straight into the BOLC video. This video is intended more for people who are coming straight from the civilian world and not having any prior military experience. Oh, I hope everyone had a good Christmas and New Year's and everything, and you're starting 2023 off right. My school program, we started on January 3rd, hopped right into things, so I'm already on the grind. All right, so without further ado, let's hop into the video. The views and opinions stated in this video are my own and do not represent the Army Medical Department, the U.S. Army, or the Department of Defense. So let's just go ahead and start off with what is BOLC. So BOLC is the Basic Officer Leader Course. This is generally going to follow straight after your Direct Commissioner's course. This is when you're going to start learning more about the Army. They just give you a lot more detail than before, and it's a little bit longer of a course. This course is about 9 weeks, whereas DCC was only 4 weeks. The first 6 weeks of this program are spent in the classroom where you're just going through a bunch of PowerPoints, and then you follow that up with a 3-week field training, and then you wrap everything up with a 1-week track phase. Here's some pointers for the class phase. Before I even hop into what each week looked like, there are about 101 abbreviations in the Army, way more than that probably. So kind of flustered you a little bit if you had no idea what they were talking about, because within a sentence you might have 5 or 6 abbreviations being spat at you and you don't even know what they're talking about. You will feel dumb at times, but don't be afraid to ask somebody. Study for the tests. There's a midterm and there's a final. Do not just go into that being like willy-nilly, okay, well, I was in the class, so I'll be fine. Actually go through that material and study that, because the test questions were not super simple as compared to DCC. The cadre were great for the most part. They all have different personalities, and they all were probably prior military, so it was cool to get to know them, and they have a bunch of experience that they can share with you. My favorite was the free dining facility, free meals. So okay, so I'll break down the 6 weeks real quick, and then we'll hop into the more exciting stuff, which is the field training. Week 1 is basically just in processing and getting your basic debriefs and everything like that. There was no alcohol allowed for the first 3 weeks due to prior classes having issues with that. I did show up late to an event. Dang, this story is wild, man. We were doing all of our debriefs, meeting like a bunch of the commanders and everything. Our meeting started at like 8:30, and I was trying to go park my car, and all the parking lots were full, so I had to go park super far away, and I was sprinting to get there. I was already probably about 5-10 minutes late. By the time I get there, the colonel, Fulberg colonel, was giving a presentation. I was called to the back by our commander, and they were like, "Why are you late? Blah blah blah." I felt so bad. Just had to be honest. And then I sat down, and the commander didn't call me out or anything, and I was like, wow. At the end, they called me out, and they're like, "Hey, don't act like I didn't see you there, showing up late." And I was like, yeah, it was super bad move for first impression. And what made it worse is that the commander went to the same school that I did for undergrad. He was like, "Do I have any Clemson alumni here?" And I wasn't there to raise my hand and support this man. Idiot. Anyways, don't be late to anything. Should be at least 15 minutes prior to everything. I didn't make that mistake again after that. So week 2 is when you're going to complete your ACFT, and you're going to get your computers throughout the entire class phase or the classroom phase. You're also issued your field gear and instructed to go ahead and buy our AGSUs if we didn't have them. Basically, like our formal uniform that we would wear to nice events and stuff like that. It costs around $900 for everything, so it was a hefty purchase. But during week 2, during that ACFT, we had it at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was raining. I was not prepared for this. And the first event is a deadlift. So I'm like, okay, it's fine. I go through the warm-ups kind of half-assed and everything. And then I start trying to warm up for the deadlift. I was like, okay, I'll start off with 220, something light, you know. Go up 1, 2, 3. Felt my back tweak. I tried to stand up, and then my hips were all to the side, and I could barely walk. So I had to spend the entire morning at sick call. It was a rough start to BOLC for me, not gonna lie. Yeah, week 3 is basically more of the same, just staying in the classroom. But then we also started doing PT, which was kind of fun in the mornings, and then some days you would do combatives. where we were learning some of the basic Army combatives training. Week 4 is when you're gonna have your first quiz, and then right after the quiz, at the end of that week, you're gonna have your midterm. So that will kind of include a large portion of the exam material. The final's only on the last 2 weeks of material, so really just making sure you kill that midterm, and the final should be a lot easier than the midterm if it's less material, in my opinion. 5, you're gonna prep for the FTX, and you also do EST, which is like the shooting simulation. Start standing, go prone, prone supported, kneeling, standing. Those are the different positions you'll be in during the actual shooting qualification. And then week 6 is our last week in the classroom where you'll do your final exam, and then you also give a hometown brief, which is kind of weird. So it's kind of just to make sure that you know how to give a presentation to people and stand in front of a crowd. But I think it would have been more useful if we would have done that in the first or second week while we were there, because then we still aren't familiar with everyone, and they kind of get to learn more about you before they know you, versus by then everyone is already familiar with who you are. You're kind of just standing in front of people you already know, just giving them a brief about where you're from. Anyways, and another benefit to BOLC was that I got to stay at my apartment on the weekends, versus at DCC we were still in the barracks, so we couldn't leave base. But yeah, the weekends we could leave base. I also enjoyed it because you got to hang out with some of these people that you met in the classroom and just get to meet them as people and go out and do nice little social events. Okay, into the cool, fun Army stuff, the field training. What was that like? Week 1, we learned how to disassemble and reassemble the M4 and the M17, which is like your basic assault rifle and a pistol. This week was super fun. It was a bunch of just shooting at the range and everything, but it was really cold that whole week, right? Like the whole time we were in the classroom, the weather was beautiful. We were hanging out throwing frisbee after class and everything. And then as soon as we get out to the field, it's like below 50 the entire time. In the mornings, it's like 41. There's a nice wind chill coming. It was never warm. And so we all thought it couldn't get any worse until you get into week 2 and it's wet and it's cold. So we were waiting on the buses to arrive, and it's just pouring rain on us, and we're just standing outside, and then you also got the wind just like splashing the water in your face and everything. It was, that's the Army for you. I shouldn't be complaining though, While we were out in the field, I forgot to mention that we'll be staying in tents with your fellow platoon members. So all the males were in one tent, and all the females were in the one tent of your platoon, and it was a fun time. It was loud. It was a lot of laughing, but we were there. We got our business done. Another negative to the field was that you only had one hot meal a day. So, and it was dinner. So you would wake up for breakfast, you would have an MRE, and then for lunch you would have an MRE. So my advice for those of you who don't like MREs or can't handle them, I'll eat them, but it's not my favorite. But I would definitely recommend bringing some snacks. A lot of people brought a bunch of protein bars, protein shakes, so stuff like that. Just make sure you still get your macros in. Week 2, you do your CTL training, which is kind of like how you would handle different injuries if you were to come across those, and then how to fill out a 9-line card if you were to call for medevac for a casualty. Then you also go through CBRN training. That was fun. It was in the rain again. And then we also do land nav, and that was in the rain, so your shoes my boots got soaked, my socks were soaked, and you're just standing in wet shoes for like 4 or 5 hours. That was a lot of fun. You finally get to week 3, which is basically just a wrap up of everything you learned from kind of in the classroom, as well as those first 2 weeks in the field. So you learn what an actual role 1 would look like, how a role 2 would look like, and then you also do some small unit tactics. And I will hands down say role 1 was my favorite. It was really cool to see. You set it up really quick. It's just a small little base of operations for the smallest role of care that you'll be giving to your soldiers. And role 2, that was a little bit bigger. It was cool to see how everything was laid out. I played a casualty during role 2, and I got hit by a bomb or something and fractured my hip, and they had to carry me on the litter. And everybody was complaining about how much I weighed. I got a little insecure, but I don't know. They just need to get bigger. Small unit tactics was also fun. You kind of go through different courses out in the field, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Finally, once all that's done, you get back, you turn in all your gear, turn in your computers before you leave for the field. And you wrap up BOLC with a 1 to 2 week track phase. So it's gonna depend on your MOS, military occupational specialty. See, abbreviation's already just coming out of me. So as a PT student, I only had 1 day of track phase, and then we kind of just transitioned straight into our orientation, where we got to meet our professors, upperclassmen, ask them questions, and then we went home for the nice little holiday break, and then came back, and then just hit the ground running. So I hope this video was somewhat informative to you. I really enjoyed it. Just don't take it too serious, I feel like. Just be there to learn, try and understand what the Army is all about. And you don't think that once you go through this course, you're gonna remember everything. Especially me, after I'm gonna be going through a 2-year program, I'm not gonna remember everything I learned. But this was kind of just to give you a quick view of what the Army is like. And when you get to your first unit and everything, when you get in touch with your NCOs and your commanding officers and everything, they'll help you and guide you down the path. That's all I have for you this time. My program has started, so this was a 4-day weekend that we had now, so I just thought I would go ahead and make this video. But we'll see if I can keep posting. I'll try and do it for y'all, try and make it relevant material. But yeah, all right, peace out. I also forgot to mention that I was my platoon's combative champion, undeclared, but still. And if anybody says anything different, don't trust them, they're lying.